Hey everybody, it's me again, the Redhead Okie, likes to talk, and I'm going to talk about some more books. These are the books that I read in May, actually read. It's kind of a combination of actual physical books and Kindle books, so just bear with me. There's only 4, so it shouldn't take us long to work our way through this. My first book for the month of May was the Jane Austen Book Club. I chose this book. I was at Goodwill and I was looking at their bookshelf, as I always do when I go to Goodwill. Great place to buy cheap books if you need to do that or if you're interested. And I had seen this movie years ago, and I remember liking the movie. I don't remember a whole lot about it. So I chose. That's why I chose it. And it's by Karen Joy Fowler. And she writes really well. The way the book is set up is that it's every month, and the book club has chosen one Jane Austen book, and then it goes through the characters. We have Jocelyn, Sylvia, Bernadette, Prudy, Allegra, and Griggs. So Jocelyn and Sylvia are lifelong friends. They've known each other since they were in school, and they're older ladies. Bernadette is even older. She's kind of she met Prudy, who's a French teacher, and kind of took her under her wing, and because she could tell she was, having some difficult times. Allegra is Sylvia's daughter, and Griggs is a young man that Jocelyn meets at this when she goes to this convention, because Jocelyn raises dogs and breeds dogs, and she went to this event for dog breeders, and there happened to be a sci-fi fantasy convention going on at the same time, and she ran into Griggs a couple of times, and they kind of chatted a bit, and so she invites him to join them in their book club. Bernadette is probably my favorite character. She's an older lady. Bernadette is just very set with herself. She's very comfortable in her life. She's comfortable with who she is. She's comfortable with what she's done in her life. She doesn't seem to have a lot of regrets. She doesn't really seem to believe in that, which is, I find, really cool. Bernadette's just she's the kind of older lady friend that everybody would want to have. I would want to be. I don't think that I'm as settled in my personality as Bernadette is. It's just something I've always envied about people that could be that way. The ending was good. It was a feel-good ending. Everybody got their happy ending. Things worked out very well. So I'd recommend it if you're looking for a feel-good book with a good happy ending, well written, great characters, fun storyline. I would recommend this book. I'll probably be looking for other books by this author as well. I actually enjoyed the book a great deal more than the movie. The quote I chose was from Bernadette. So Bernadette is telling her history, and her first husband had gotten her involved in this cult. Anyway, and she drops acid, and this is how she got out of the cult. She says, after dropping acid, she starts seeing these crows, and she goes, well, it seemed to me that if a crow told you to do something, you should do it. And apparently the crow told her to leave. So she did. She walked out. She walked and walked and walked, and that's how she left the cult. So good for her. Again, she doesn't really regret it. She did it. She was married 5 times. She had all these kids, and she was just like, I had a great life. It was awesome. So good for her. I like Bernadette. I like this Bernadette. My Bernadette from Where'd You Go, Bernadette. I didn't like her so much. She was not a nice person. But anyway, all right, my next book is quite a, it's Stephen King. It's the Tommyknockers. If you've read this book, it's a bit crazy. It's a wild. So we got Bobby, who writes Western books. She lives on this farm in Maine, outside Haven, Maine, this town named Haven. She stumbles over a buried spaceship in the woods behind her house when she's out walking with her dog Peter, who's a beagle. Her friend Guard is a poet, alcoholic, suicidal, not in a good place. But he wakes up and he has a feeling that Bobby, his friend Bobby, needs him. They're friends. They've been friends for years. And so he goes, and she recruits him to help her dig up the spaceship because it's buried down in the ground. They have to dig it out. And she starts, I don't even know how to tell you what happens in this book. It just, the people, the town, the alien ship creates this atmosphere, and it affects these people's brains, and it makes them super smart, but it also makes them really mean. And it's just one crazy thing after another in this book. So if you want to read a really crazed Stephen King book, this is your book. If that isn't your cup of tea, then you probably should stay away from this one. My favorite character was Peter the Beagle. He was the best part of the book. He was also the worst part of the book. What happens to Peter is not pleasant, not for the faint of heart. We have some violent things that you wouldn't necessarily think of as violent things happening. Acts of violence committed by objects and things you wouldn't necessarily occur to you. We have a soda pop vending machine that kills a few people. There's a flying Electrolux vacuum cleaner that kills some people. And then there's some vagina tentacles that commit acts of violence. I'm just going to let that one sit there. We also have 7 references to menstruation. There's quite a bit of menstrual blood in this book. So if your, blood makes you queasy, especially menstrual blood, this may not be the book for you. I'm going to quote, this is Guard mansplaining menstruation to the reader of the book. Menstruation was an efficient waste removal process on behalf of a woman capable of bearing children, but not currently doing so. There's a lot of menstrual blood in this book. So, reader beware. This book was crazy. Alright, so my next book is The Tusks of Extinction by Ray Nayler. This is a kind of a sci-fi book, so I thought it was going to be about these scientists wanting to de-extinct mammoths. And it sort of is, but that's really not what it is about. It's kind of advertised that way, and I don't really know why. But the de-extinction has already occurred. There's mammoth herds, but they're dying. They're having a hard time sustaining the herd and keeping the herd alive. And so what they choose to do is, because this is all in the future, they download the brain of a elephant researcher into the brain of a mammoth, so that she basically becomes a mammoth. So she had volunteered to upload her brain. There had been a project in the years before she died where they were uploading apparently certain people's brains that they thought might be valuable into the computer. And so she is murdered because she's trying to protect the elephant herds from poachers who want their tusks, their feet, and I think their ears, which is horrific in itself. There's some massive carnage of elephants and mammoths here, so buyer beware on that one as well. Anyway, so they have de-extincted these mammoth herds, but it's like they don't know how to be mammoths. Now, we didn't live at the time of mammoths, so we don't really know exactly how mammoths lives, but they related them to elephants. So basically, they've downloaded this elephant researcher into the brain of this mammoth, so this mammoth herd can learn to be elephants, I guess, because that's what she knows. So basically, you got mammoths running around acting like elephants, because we don't really know how a mammoth acted, its social, groups and things like that, because we weren't around at the time that mammoths were there, and we weren't able to study them, right? Some things we can figure out, but most of mammoth behavior and whatnot, it wouldn't be anything we would know how to do. So I'm not even going to go into the whole direwolf thing that recently made the news, because that annoys me. But anyway, so she's there to teach these mammoths how to be mammoths, and so they can survive. But of course, poachers have appeared again, and they want mammoth tusks this time. And the mammoths are like, so one of the things that she ends up teaching this mammoth herd is how to protect themselves from poachers. So there's some blood and carnage on this as well. My conclusion after reading this is, to any de-extinction people and proponents, is a famous quote, and I don't know where it came from, but I've heard it many times. Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do that thing. Keep that in mind. The quote from the Tusks of Extinction is that when she's still, before she is murdered, she's with some other elephant protectors, and they're talking, and she's from Russia, and she's in Africa, and with some men that protect the elephants there in Africa, and they're from there, and he's telling her, you know, he's talking about how that land where the elephants are, that's his home, that's where he's from, and so there's power in that, and that's why he's there to protect these creatures that are native to his home. But he tells her, and when she starts feeling a little hurt, because she's there to protect these elephants too, even though they're not native to where she comes from in Russia, he says that there is power in being from a place, but there is also power in choosing a place to be, somewhat. And I don't think she could figure out whether he was insulting her or not, but I don't know, it just struck me that there is a native to a place. There's a place where you are from, and you may feel disconnected from it, you may not feel like, but that's where you're from, and there's a feeling and a connection there. And but if you adopt a new homeland, a new place to be, you can establish a connection there as well. So, you know, as humans, we're very adaptable. So that's, which I guess is a good way to lead us into the next book, which is Saturation Point by Adrian Tchaikovsky, I guess is how you pronounce that. Anyway, this book it reminded me of Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, because there's a no-go zone, there's a uninhabitable zone. The only difference is in Jeff Vandermeer's book, the zone is mysterious. It just appeared, and they don't really know why it's there. In this one, this is an area of the Earth around the equator that has become uninhabitable due to climate change. It's not just that it's too hot to live there. It's also, and he goes into detail about this, the everything is so saturated with moisture that humans can't live there, because the humidity is so high, the air, everything is so moist, the air is so moist that we cook there basically, because our bodies can't sweat enough to put off the heat. It matches, there's a saturation point, so that where you cook, and so if humans go in just on their own into this zone, basically you'll just sit there and you'll cook in your own juices, and it kills you. So what the main character in the book, her name is Dr. Jasmine Marks, and she is recruited by this government team to go in, and what she's told is a rescue mission. She finds out that it's not a rescue mission. It's actually, they're going in there because a mission that had gone into this zone 20 years before, which Dr. Marks had been on, there was a scientist that was left behind that she thought had died, but they knew had not died, had stayed in this habitable zone, and they thought that scientist was making augmented humans, upgraded humans to live in this zone, and they wanted to shut this program down. They wanted to shut her down. It turns out that wasn't quite what the situation was. And I will give you a slight clue as to what the book was about, and with my quote that I chose from the book. Evolution isn't about being fair, it's about adapting to changing circumstances. So that may happen, and there is a lot of change and adaptation going on in this book. But it's worth a read. It was a good book. I would recommend it. I like Adrian Tchaikovsky. I chose this book because of him. I read his Children of Time trilogy, and just I loved that. It was so good. And so that's what I did there. But so I would recommend this one. I would recommend the Tusks of Extinction as well, because it was a good read. Ray Nayler is a good writer. I like the way he writes. I read his The Mountain Under the Sea, which I really enjoyed. And I'm just kind of waiting for all the parts to come together for him. There was some disappointments in The Mountain Under the Sea that I had, as with this one. So I'm hoping in the future he'll write that book that just hits every mark for me. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll keep an eye on him. But anyway, that's my books for May. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Everybody have a great weekend. It's been lots and lots of rain and storming here in Oklahoma. Hopefully we'll come through all of that, and we'll actually get some summertime. Sunshine in the summertime would be nice. But you never know. It's Oklahoma. As with anyway, weather is weird. But y'all have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.